I can make it since I'm committed now. A couple of more gorgeous lakes that I don't think even have names. Hey guys, it's Dan from Shasta Bubba Adventures, and I am at the start of a really amazing and epic adventure. This is the Island Lake trailhead in the Beartooth Plateau, about halfway between Red Lodge and Cook City. Technically I'm in Wyoming, although I'll be crossing into Montana partway through this trip. And I'm just gonna go explore. This plateau has an amazing, like 1,000 lakes all scattered around, and very high country, which is good because there's a lot of people to get spread out. This is one of the busiest trailheads I think I've ever seen. And so we'll see how far people do get spread out. I might have a little trouble finding a spot the first night because I am getting kind of a late start. Although it's just a little after 3, I figured it would be 4 before I got here. So I made pretty good time coming down, although that is a 9-hour drive, so I'm kind of whooped already. However, I did want to mention that one of the things that makes this trip epic is both the drive in and the drive out. The drive out will be through the Lamar Valley of Yellowstone, and I'll put a little blurb at the end of that, give you a taste of what that's like. The drive in was over the Beartooth Highway, one of the premier high mountain roads in America, and both of those probably deserve a video of their own, but I'll give you a little taste of the Beartooth Highway here. Alright, so I'm all packed up and I want to see where I can get to tonight. Probably about 3 hours, maybe 4 of hiking, so let's go. That's where I'm headed. It's Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, and that was part of my strategy, was hoping that there would be less traffic on Sunday, although the downside is lots of people here. But since I'm going to be out for several days, hopefully they will all disappear by the time I get back to the trailhead. Well, just hiking along that 1 mile of Island Lake, I met probably 30 people, but they were all coming my way back to the trailhead, and I think they were almost all day hikers, so that gives me a little hope that there might be some space in this wilderness for me. And just over a little hill is the next lake. You don't have to go far off the road to encounter some spectacular beauty on this trail. By the way, this trail starts right out at 9,500 feet of elevation. So if I'm huffing and puffing, I'll blame it on that and nothing else. Another little hump, another little lake. Ho hum, another beautiful lake. As well traveled as these trails are, it's amazing that there's no signs to mark the major forks in the trail like I just came on. The trail off to Becker was a little faint to start with. You had to go off onto the trail for a little bit before it becomes as distinct as it is now. First glimpse of Becker Lake. Looks pretty awesome. Well, it's 6 o'clock and I finally found a campsite at Becker Lake. It's a very long lake and I had to go almost to the end to find a spot because there's people camped in all the other good spots. And this one isn't ideal. I usually don't like to be right at the water level, but it's pretty sweet, so I'm not going to complain too much. And this is just a fantastic lake. It's so beautiful. Everything I've seen today has been so beautiful. It's as soon as you step off the trailhead, it's overwhelming and millions of places to camp. If I hadn't set Becker Lake as my destination, I certainly could have picked a lot of other easy campsites at beautiful little lakes with no name. So, looks like 5 miles today, and actually climbed, I'm not sure, it's 97 something feet elevation now. So a little bit of elevation gain, but not too much. And tomorrow I'm going to go up through there to Albino and Jasper Lake. And right now it's looking not too likely that I'm going to climb that mountain that I was looking at. I think like usual, my eyes get too big when I'm looking at Google Earth, and I think, oh, I can do that. That's not that bad. But then I see it in reality, and I'm like, no way. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. Might be just scooting along, visiting a whole bunch of those high lakes, which is also very awesome. So see you tomorrow. I finally broke down and invested in a Ursack. And this is my first attempt at hanging, which I think is about what you want. Just on top of a little stump there, a little nub. It's about chest high from the uphill side. So we'll see how that does. Good morning. Well, my campsite last night was not the A campsite on Becker Lake, or even the B campsite, more like 3rd grade, but it was still one of the best sites I've ever had. It's so beautiful here. I'm really reluctant to pack up and hit the trail. So I've kind of taken my time a little bit, done a little fishing with the usual results. And today, just going to wander around aimlessly among these high lakes and take it all in. No real destination. Got some ideas, but not going to be heartbroken if I decide to change those plans. We're just going to play it by ear as we go along. So let's go. That's looking back down on Becker Lake. Just moving between saddles over to Albino Lake. And I have officially climbed above 10,000 feet at this point. here is Albino Lake. I thought that Albino Lake would be too rocky and barren for a good campsite, but turns out there's tons of campsites and tons of people here. I really think probably 20 people were camped in various places. I just met a group of 9, I think, that were camped out on that peninsula. Well, there's a nice overview of Albino Lake, and see that gentleman fishing down there by the shore. Very friendly guy who told me that he climbed Lonesome Mountain yesterday, which is that ridge going up, and there's a peak that you can't see. He said it's fairly easy, pretty straightforward, just scrambling. So I think I'm going to do it. See what the view is like up there. Dropped my pack right down there. Nervous about finding it again, so figured take a picture. Maybe that will help me if I'm in trouble. I did mark it as a waypoint on the GPS also, and I do have the GPS, the inReach, with me, as well as some food and water. There's the tent site of my friend. So that's a good landmark if he's still there when I come back down. I just want to come up through this area. There's another high, dry pothole, and just over that little hump is where the pack is. Okay, well, I got all the way up to the edge of the shoulder there and discovered that my camera battery was just about dead. So I had to hike all the way back to my pack and get a new battery. But at least that's proof of concept that I can find my pack. Just working my way up this chute here. Looks like a pretty viable route. Well, here's the top of that chute. And I don't think I want to go this way, but it looks like there might be a path. Might be a path on over that way. Not sure if that's the top or just a false summit. Whatever it is, it looks like a long ways. Well, I think I see the top. Not crazy about that scree slope. I'm sure it's doable, but I might just go to that first shoulder. Pretty sure I can see the view that I'm going to see from there. Well, there it is. Just about there, but I'm definitely not going to the very top because there's a line of thunderstorms over there. I think I got time enough to head up to that shoulder. amazing, all the lakes tucked in every little pothole. One of those is Rachel, I imagine, and the Cloverleaf lakes. After I come down off this mountain, I'll come around on that side. So just trying to figure out the best way to get back down out of here. I came up over here around that knob and up this way, all the way up over the top of that little canyon. I'm thinking it might be better to go back about there, either up over that or maybe even all the way down around the end there. Tempting. There's actually a couple of cairns here and there. Hard to spot them, hard to line them up, but every now and then I come across one, and there is one right down there. So we'll see if I can tell where they're leading. Well, I made it to 10,800 feet, and that's just about 600 feet shy of the actual summit of Lonesome Mountain. But I don't regret turning around even a little bit, because I've already taken a pretty huge risk climbing up this far solo, and climbing over those boulders to the top really is just too big of a risk, and wouldn't gain me that much in terms of view. So I'm content with getting the near summit and just need to find my way down now. Well, I've actually been able to line up about 4 of these cairns in a row, and it seems to be leading me in a good direction. Of course, somebody else's idea of the right way to go doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way for everybody if I'm not going the direction they wanted to go. But this does kind of make sense. So I just got to work my way up over this knob, and then I'll be back down to those little tarns, I think. Made it back down to these tarns, which I'm happy to say that I did recognize, and I would have gone this way, but the GPS confirms it in case there was any doubt. I'm back within sight of Albino Lake. That's looking very positive. And look at that, I walked right back to my pack. Pretty happy about that. Practice makes perfect. Well, climbing that mountain was a pretty satisfying side trip, and it only cost me 2.5 hours and a pair of sunglasses that I unfortunately left somewhere. So it's 1 o'clock now, and just gonna hike up over that saddle to Jasper Lake, and then work my way down along the Cloverleaf and Rachel Lakes. Doing this side trip certainly changes my calculations for where I end up tonight, but it was sort of in the plan. I just thought I would be climbing a different mountain. This one worked out just fine. Moving up through that saddle between Albino and Jasper, and the trail gets a little sketchy in a few places, but not too bad. There it is, Jasper Lake, my friends. Beautiful. Wow, that's stunning. And that's the way I'm headed, through that canyon. There's the outlet of Jasper, going right into Golden Lake. I'm hoping I can make my way around the shore of Golden, because otherwise I'm going to have to go right up over that thing. Made it around the hook of that lake just fine, but I got a lot of work ahead of me. Keep going around this shore. Well, I made it past Jasper and Golden, and that definitely was the right way to go, right along the shore. And better than going up over that pass, which would have been boulder hopping anyway. And now I gotta head up this pass. I gotta say that I'm thinking that I probably should not have climbed Lonesome Mountain and put in all that extra wear and tear on the knees. There's the Cloverleaf Lakes. I just got to get down there, work my way across the bottom of them over to Rachel Lake. This could be a little challenge here. Ooh, not too bad. Goodbye to that clover leaf, and hello to this clover leaf. Beautiful. Well, I believe I found Rachel Lake, and she is gorgeous. And I would guess that's Martin Lake through the gap there. Well, I had to hurry and get my camp all set up because it's got there's some dark clouds around. Well, I don't think it's going to rain until later, but I did have to stop before I put all my stuff in the tent because I was bonking about 6 o'clock, but I was just out of energy. Been working pretty strenuously today, and so I came over to this rock wall and had some water and a couple of pepperoni sticks and some fruit bars. Feeling better now. While my dinner was rehydrating, I was able to go over and get the rest of the stuff unloaded in the tent. So I'm all ready to dive in there, even though it's only 20 after 6 at the moment. So probably try to find something to do for a little while. Don't want to crash too early. Looking out on the lake, I can see some rising, so that's maybe going to tempt me to try my luck, as bad as it is, one more time. So dinner tonight is the Peak Refuel pork and rice, which is one of my favorites. It's got beans and corn and red peppers and just a little bit picante. I don't generally like hot stuff, but this is just enough heat in a good way to warm you up for a cold night. So this is one of my favorites. Starting to feel a little human again. Mileage today, probably about 12 or 13. GPS always reads low, so it's a bit of a guess. I think there was 4 miles out of the way when I climbed Lonesome Mountain. And man, ever since Jasper Lake, that was just so grueling. Hard work going up and around and boulder to boulder, and that really took it out of me. Sun's got another couple hours before it goes behind that ridge. So we'll see if I can get down to the water and make some damage. Well, good morning. As you can tell, it's a little soggy outside, and I've packed up everything that I have in the backpack so it'll stay dry before I got out and went and got the food bag. So now I'm just gonna eat a cold breakfast and see if things let up a little bit. Kind of think it isn't gonna change. This feels like an all-day rain to me, and so that might be changing my plans a little bit. I was debating between a more circuitous route to check out a few more lakes, or a more direct route that still checks out more lakes but gets me back to the truck a little quicker. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with the straight line instead. Kind of pointless to do all the extra work of getting to different lakes when you can barely see them in the rain and the mist. But gonna hang out for a little bit and eat breakfast, like I said, and we'll see what happens after that. Okay, well, I have eaten my breakfast and hung out a little bit. Doesn't seem to be changing at all, so I'm all packed up, everything except the tent. I might try to do a little filming with the GoPro, and I apologize for the smudge, but my backup camera is my Sony RX107. It's a very expensive camera, it's not weatherproof, so if it's raining solid I won't be able to do any filming of the hike today, except for the ones I can do with the smudge on the GoPro, so sorry about that. Part of the joy of backpacking is being able to deal with the elements, right? So let's go. I think it's letting up. Sarcasm. Well, miraculously, my all-day rain lasted about 10 minutes on the trail. And I'm seeing patches of blue sky. Kind of makes me wish I would have slept in a little. This country above Wright Lake is all above 10,000 feet and rolling, so you're in and out from one bowl to the next, any one of which would be a worthy destination of a backpacking trip in most places in the world. And look at that sun coming out. I almost didn't need to climb Lonesome Mountain yesterday. A fantastic view of both north and south. This is south. Coming out of that high country, there's a super steep trail. Goes on, and I'm worried that I'm going to have to climb up the other side of this on an equally steep trail. There's Teal Lake. Looks a little marshy around the edges. Not sure if it would be a good place to camp or not, considering the gazillion other options. Well, I took about a half-hour break at Teal Lake because the sun was shining, and so I spread everything out to dry, and it worked great, all except the shelter didn't get completely dry. But I had to bail because the sun went away, and it looks like I might be in for a little bit more rain. Remember when I was worrying about having an equally steep trail on the other side? That's what we got here. At least it's cool for hiking with that overcast. It's probably only about 60 degrees. This trail certainly doesn't lack for going along lots of pretty lakes with good camping options. Just to give you an idea how steep these trails are, I was just down there at that lake, and it's been like this all morning. One bowl to the next. I'm not done with this one either. Yeah, another beauty. Really, I think you could hike to this one and call it good. It'd be just like seeing all the others. Looks like a really nice place to be. Well, I think maybe I might have finally reached the ultimate high point. Topped out just barely at 10,000 feet. You can see both to the north and to the south. Hopefully it's downhill from here. We shall see. Pretty incredible view from up here. The beautiful no-name lake there, and another one right there. This is some very interesting country that I've gotten into now. Just a little rolling country with some potholes in every little bowl. Well, this is Native Lake, and I just ran into the only people I've seen today, and they were a couple of gentlemen day hikers, which seemed weird to me this far back in, but thankfully we got to chatting. They had come from the Clay Butte trailhead, which isn't too far. When I told them I was going to Island Lake, the gentleman showed me I just missed the turnoff to Native Lake. So miraculously, only people I've seen today, and I run into them just about 100 feet past the turnoff, and they put me back to the right place to go. Thank you, that was pretty freaking lucky. Every time I say I reached a high point, there's another high point, back up to 10,000 feet. But it's a better view from here on this little saddle. This is my third day out, and that is the first sign that I have seen up on the saddle on the shoulder of Clay Butte, which is that baby there. I'm wondering if that's Lonesome Mountain. I think it has to be, but wow, it sure looks different from this angle. This Clay Butte is impressive from a distance, but it's way more impressive when you're walking along it. Get the full dimensions. Just about to drop off down into that valley, it looks like. Well, I've checked my maps, and that definitely is Lonesome Mountain, which I cannot believe, looking at it now, that I climbed most of that. I think right where that shadow is probably about how far up I got before I decided to bail. Crazy. A couple of more gorgeous lakes that I don't think even have names. Dime a dozen around here, I guess. Well, I finally broke down and put on suntan lotion. So of course that made the dark clouds roll in. The rain earlier held off, but I think I might not get out of this dry. Still got about 2.5 hours to go to the trailhead. Definitely want to remember this string of lakes. This was just beautiful, and it's only about 5 or 6 miles from the trailhead. believe that's Beauty Lake. Total for today is 10 miles and well over 1,000 feet of cumulative elevation gain. And for the trip overall, I don't know the elevation, but the mileage would be about 27, I believe. But those numbers don't really do justice to just how strenuous this trip has been. It's just really rugged, up and down, difficult to move at all. Well, I made it back to Night Lake, and I believe that's Island Lake in the distance. So not too far to go. Well, this has been a fantastic trip, and it certainly ended with a bang with that dramatic thunderstorm. Whew, I won't be forgetting that one for a while. But this was really awesome to get the opportunity to explore this new territory, new to me, and really looking forward to coming back another time and exploring a little bit further. Although I definitely want to do it after Labor Day. Remember how full this was when I parked on Sunday? That was a huge difference. The day that I was coming in was Sunday of Labor Day weekend, and I probably met 40 parties. It was just unbelievable how busy it was. Today, coming out, I met 4. Today is Tuesday, after the day after Labor Day. Big difference, and of course, maybe the weather prediction might have had something to do with weeding people out a little bit. I would not really recommend the route that I took, though, although it was really awesome to see Albino Lake and Jasper Lake, those really high, just awe-inspiring views. The transition between Jasper and on over was pretty sketchy. You can get to Golden Lake and even over to the Cloverleaf Lakes just with boulder hopping. That wasn't too bad. But the transition from the Cloverleaf Lakes to Rachel Lake and then Rachel Lake to Martin Lake, those are both absolutely treacherous. And you know, you can do it if you go slow and be careful, but one slip and the consequences will be catastrophic. So I really don't think I'd be doing that again. And when I do come back, I'm going to have a little more realistic expectation for the effort it takes to get from one lake to another, because on the map the contour lines don't look all that tight, so you would think it isn't going to be that difficult, but it actually was really strenuous. So probably want to have a little more realistic idea of the mileage that you want to travel than I did on this trip. But I definitely do look forward to coming back and getting to explore more of this just amazing territory and camping at some of those million unnamed lakes that were so inviting. Okay, that's it for this trip though. Thanks for watching. Thanks so much for subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Take care.